Hi, and welcome to Module 7, where we look at transformations and scripts. We have already, so there's a number of different transformers that can take the content, do something with it, and deliver something else. We already talked a lot about the content modifier, and I think that's probably the most used one because it is really simple to use. It has a lot of the functionality about extracting content, you doing something with it, and saving it in some variable. The expressions, the XPath variables is really easy using this tool. In this module, I'll talk a little about some of these other ones. Most of them is we'll cover that. It's a little difficult explaining, and it's probably better if you have something you need to decode encode to look at that specific one instead of knowing what all of them can do and having to understand what it cannot do. And I haven't used them either, so I don't really know all the business logic behind this. Then we will also cover scripting, and I think that's probably the most important one. So I think the main one we will cover is just filter and scripting. So there's some converters that can convert between JSON XML and XML JSON, and with CSV to XML and CSV. I've used the JSON ones for some projects, and it is XML to JSON. So I did a message. I got a XML document and I did a message mapping, and then I did a JSON conversion, and that JSON we created there worked as it was supposed to be. I've also done different projects where the XML, the JSON was not possible to create, and this is especially if the receiving system expects some arrays to be delivered in the right format. It has some parameters that says, hey, you can specify that this needs to be an array, and with that it should convert it to array. But when I tried it out, I was not able to get it working, so I had to opt for just doing it in Groovy script. And I would imagine there's some similar challenges with the CSV conversion of it. So do be careful. Some of these may be a little difficult getting to use and figure out how they actually work. But it's definitely worth looking into if you have this conversion between issues or between formats, to use the one that makes sense in your case. And then see how far you can get it, and if you want to add some Groovy script afterwards or before to handle some special cases. There's also encoders and decoders that can take, let's say, gzip content, base 64-bit, base 64, decode and encode it. And I've seen a lot of projects where this makes a lot of sense because you need the base 64-bit to upload it somewhere. And then you can just use this converter, put it in, instead of having to write your own Groovy script that handles these things. So really useful. There's also message digest that will just take the message, convert it to create a SHA hash based on it, so that you can use to sign it in some format. There's one I just wanted to share a little about, that's the filter. So if you have a message structure and you want to take out some nodes that you do not see a value in it, or that's not correct, then you can do it using the filter. So let me just show you what that looks like. So here we have our flow, and in this flow we have just added a filter. We're just using the same endpoint almost. Then we would specify that we want all the root nodes that match to the expression that the name is not equal to BB. So I think this is deployed. I guess this is just... Oh, that's the wrong one. does not make sense. This one, 7.1. So we would expect it that it did not deliver number the B, because it should match all elements that does not match B. So this one seems to be okay. So we save this as good. So yeah, filter will extract these values and enable you to do something with them. Then the next thing we have is, yeah, you have an XPath. I think you also may have other options of doing filtering. No, it's just, yeah, you have different options of setting in the output, what you expect from this. If you had selected node, it would just return the first element that matched this content. So I guess play around with it and figure out which of the values that makes sense and you want to get from this. And yeah, you can also use this if you want to get rid of some message multi-mappings. I've seen different scenarios where that would make sense to try to remove it with multi-mappings. So the next one is we want to go into scripting. And scripting is really useful in the cases where you have gone to the limits of what all the different tools can, what you can actually do there. Then you just want to go with scripting because it offers you all the unlimited flexibility that you can do whatever you want, making it a lot easier to do manipulation, take some header data, combine it, add a new date, or yeah, a date manipulation. You don't have that option directly into the content. Yeah, the content modifier. That's just simple Groovy that can take today's state, but tomorrow's you would need to create it using a script. CPI comes with two scripting languages, Groovy and JavaScript. I would say I haven't seen any, so I've did a survey just to see what pre-delivered content was delivered with JavaScript, and I didn't find anything. So most is Groovy script. So I think only if you're really an expert JavaScript developer, you want to go with that. Otherwise, I think you're better off going with the Groovy because that's probably what everybody else is doing, and you can transfer your message mappings and stuff like that a lot easier. So yeah, some message mappings will also, once they're converted, UDFs will be created into Groovy functions that you can use. So it is possible to create scripting just from the UI, but sometimes I would disencourage that because, well, let's just show you what I mean with this. So in our flow here, we will create a new scripting, and we can just take it here, scripting, Groovy, you add it, and then we have here the option to select, and then it will just create one that's called Groovy Script 1. And the good thing about this is this gives you a template of what it should look like. It's fairly simple. You can just edit this. Do bear in mind that this one can sometimes cause problems. Because if this is XML, then this will not work. And we can see some of the header that's being replaced and modified and stuff like that. So if we saved it, we could then run it. We have here the option of specifying. So normally the default is just a process data, but if you want, you can also rename this demo So you can just call the process data demo, and then you just want to specify this into the processing parameter. The normal way I would recommend that you do this is like this. You upload from file system, find a place where you've added the Groovy scripts, and then you can actually upload it and edit it. So once it has been uploaded, you can go in and edit it. Just like we can click here, we can do modifications of it. Modify the content, so we can just say save. Let's see here if it works. So we have our Groovy script that does this working here. So once you're deploying it, it will be pulled off the server. You cannot run scripts on it for a period of time. And then we're getting the data, body is modified back. And we can see we're getting the new header and something, the old header was not defined yet, but it's modified. So we can see all of this data that's just been set in this default script. So it's a good way to start and understanding how to set values, how to get them, and how to process them. Some of the examples of what you want to do with this is extract values from JSON. So I had one case where I had some payload that were coming in a response in JSON, and the only way I could see that it was possible without, I could convert it with the JSON to XML, figure out how to do an XPath in it, but it was just easier. Create a simple JSON parser that will just go through the value, take out the things you want, and you can do something with it. You can create signing requests in this if you don't want to use the specific OAuth 2.0 that they are providing. You can create it here. You also have the option to save content as attachment, making it easy to check it out afterwards. And then you have the option to parse documents. So let me just show you. So one thing you want to try out is there's this blog that describes that you can create, you want to test, and describes that how if you have this process method, how you can actually run it, and it gives you an example on how you can create this thing. At VGAF we saw the same problem and thought that, well, we already have all of this data when we're creating tests, so why not generate this scripting automatically? So in this block you can actually see how you would get this data. I'll just need to publish this. And in this one you can see all the different, so here you can see how you need to run this. In this one I'll just show you the different libraries. They may not be completely exact as it's running on the CPI system, but then again it's not possible to create all the content as you wanted to. For instance, as we saw just before, we had a place where we were extracting some of these values. Let me just check the trace here. It's kicking me off. So if we look at this trace here, maybe, we could see that one of the payload that we got from here was that it was a stream exception, and that one is not something you can extract easily and get over here. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. So the way you want to go around doing this is in your Eclipse, and once you have Eclipse, or some would use IntelliJ as developer tool. So you can create a Groovy project. Create a Groovy project. You want to include some libraries in it, and in my blog here I described that you need to get some camel, you need to get some CPI you get to get some Groovy parsers, or the full Groovy library is probably better to get all of that. And then you just create it, add it as external jars to a project, and then you would actually get something that looks like this. And so, for instance, here I have created one of these demos, or you can take some of the ones, fill in the data that you want, set up some test cases in it, and then you can actually set the payload, run it, and then you will get the payload out here. So what does these Groovy scripts look like? So in this one, for instance, let's see if I can zoom. It's only in these fancy MacBooks and stuff like that you can do something like zooming. So here we have our main method. In the beginning, we are just getting the body as a string. We're passing it then to this XML parser, and if you worked with other parsers in the past, this is a little different. And so you can specify for any element. So we're getting the employee document here. We can take for each employee, do something with that employee, and for employee we have username and get the text value of it. We can run some script. Obviously in the live code you don't want to use a print line, that does not make sense. We append it, and then in this part we are then attaching it to so we're creating this logger factory and adding an attachment to it. And I think let's do that in our example up here. So just do our processing here. So we will take here, we will, based on our message, we will create this attachment as string demo, and we will just take this body and see if we can put that one into it. So let's run this, deploy. Deployed, and we got a Postman here, run it again. So it failed, something was probably not right. Oh, we missed some part of this. Oh, it's so we can see here the error that it is trying to add a nodelet, which is probably not an ideal way. So let's just check it out. Dev body. How was it? We're doing it in this one, so we got the body as string. Try that one. And the good thing, once you're deploying it, you'll see this one first, and then you'll see the toast. And once you've seen the toast here, you can run it again. Now it worked, and if we look at our message, we can see it completed now. And now we can see our attachments down here. And we can see the payload, making it a lot easier to do follow up on what's going on with these things. So here we're just showing this example. I'm just taking an XML parser. Then I'm doing, so for each of the element in this XML parser, I'm creating, so IT means the specific instance, and then I'll just create an output JSON here with the printf format. So, and set it into the output. So here I'm actually just creating a JSON example because we couldn't guarantee that we got the array correctly. And here's the same with the attachment that we want to add. So this one does not work because, yeah, we're not getting the XML, the error XML correctly. So that was what I wanted to show in this module about doing some Groovy scripts. And obviously, if you want to do more, there's a lot of resources on Groovy script, JSON parsing, XML parsing, and figuring out how all of these different things happen. So go check that out and see how it works. Thanks.